So good morning, everyone. My name is Brandon Rowan. I'm a national trainer and assistant director of training from the Alice Training Institute. Give you a little bit of brief background about me. I was a police officer in the Philadelphia area for 17 years. I retired. I know it's very hard to believe looking at this young, stunning face. But I retired as the operations captain of my agency, a small department, a 56-man department, and had an opportunity 2 years ago to join this great organization of the Alice Training Institute, and I could not be happier about the different type of work that I get to do on a day-to-day basis and impacting people's lives differently than as a police officer. And so my portion of this presentation is really to piggyback off of Hart. And, you know, Hart talks about the prevention and warning signs and how can we not get to the position that you need my response, you need Alice's response. But we're going to talk about once we're at that position, what do we do? Maybe we missed some of the warning signs, or we missed some of the preventive measures, or it just kind of happened before we had any of that intelligence gathering information. And so here we are in the middle of this catastrophic, horrible event. And what are we going to do? What is your plan? What is the church's plan? What is the daycare? What is the nursery? What is the plan? You've opened up your building to Vacation Bible School, and you have hundreds of kids from within your community who you are now responsible for 4 or 5 hours a day for 5 days. What is the plan? Whether you are a church plant with 20 people in a basement or a living room or a rented facility, or you're a mega church with thousands of members. What is the plan? And so Alice talks about the plan. What can each individual do to increase their odds of survival? Because as you heard Hart say earlier, these things are happening almost daily somewhere in the country. And listen, folks, let me be real clear. I'm not here to make you ninjas. I'm not here to make you airborne rangers. I'm not here to make you SWAT operators. That's not my role in this event. If you want to have that training, that's a different conversation. But that's not what we're here to do today. And so as the pastor, as the church leader, as the school leader, as the secretary, board of trustees, deacons, whatever your role is, what can you do? And what information can you take back to your organization to say, hey, we need to start having this conversation? And I'll be the first to admit, it's not the most pleasant conversation to have. Right? We want to be able to go about our business and feel safe doing so. But the reality is, at some point, there could be violence that you are met with. And so what are you going to do? And what does that look like? What have we trained and taught people to do? Can somebody tell me, in a man-made or natural disaster, other than a mass casualty active killer event, what other man-made or natural disaster have we trained people to stay in the dangerous area? In a storm, in a tornado. Do we send people out into the tornado? No. We don't go, hey, there's 160-mile-an-hour winds out there. Why don't you go out there and figure it out? Right? We come in, bunker down, shelter, right? An active killer event over the years from, Columbine, Texas Tower. I mean, we can name all kinds of events. But really, that's the only type of event where we've said people, hey, there is a known bad guy in this location. Stay here. Right? And really, where did we get that idea from? I typically judge my audience with two things: hair color or lack thereof. Right? So we got some wise people in this room. And I am excited to be in good company. But think about this, right? When this whole idea kind of really started from when? Bombs, right? Atomic bombs. Get under that desktop. Your school was going to be blown to smithereens, but as long as you were under that wooden desktop held together by duct tape, you would survive. And so we've carried this idea that, hey, if we're going to survive a bomb under that desktop, well, by golly, we sure should get under there if a guy walks in here with a gun. But let's be for real, right? If my mama was here, she'd say, you in God's house, tell the truth, shame the devil. So let's be for real. How safe did you really feel in that atomic bomb drill hiding under that desk with some couple pieces of wood, 4 metal legs, and some duct tape holding it all together? You didn't, but we did it because that's what we were told to do. And then this whole idea just started to exponentially just kind of say, hey, no matter what the danger, just get under that desk. Get in that corner. Regardless of the danger, regardless of where the danger is, just go hide, because somebody's coming to help you. And that is true. Somebody is coming to help you. The question is, when? How long is it going to take them to get there? And so we're going to talk about that when. That when. That moment of time in which you have to hold on. You have to hold it down. You're going to be the one that is really going to either allow this thing to go on and allow casualty numbers to go up, or are we going to start taking back some control, increase people's odds of survival, reduce casualty, mitigate that event, and let's try to get some more people saved walking out of these buildings. And that's what Alice training is. Alice training is simply that. Increase people's odds of survival, save lives, give you a buffet of options of things that you can use to do that, and then you make a decision. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you you have to do one thing or another, or you have to do one thing before you do another thing. You can look at me, and these lights don't help me, but I like to eat, ladies and gentlemen. You take me to a buffet, you give me options, I am a happy kid. Because the first time I go up, I may get a salad. Probably not, but the idea is there, right? The next time I go up, I may get chicken. The next time I go up, I may get beef. The next time I go up, I may get pasta. Guess what? The best thing about it, I got options. And I don't have to commit to one. And that's what Alice is. Hey, here's your buffet of options. Pick the one you like. Pick the one you want right here, right now. And go with it. And we're going to walk through that process and what it looks like. And so how did this whole organization start? And it started on Christmas Eve in 2000. Greg and Lisa Crane, who are the founders of the Alice Training Institute. Greg was a police officer in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He was a SWAT team commander and leader. Lisa was an elementary school building principal. And Greg had some of his team members over to his house. And as they were cooking and preparing for Christmas Eve dinner, breaking story comes on news that there's been a bank robbery and a police officer has been shot. And that is Officer Aubrey Hawkins. And that sparked a conversation, depending on which one you ask. If you ask Greg, he'll tell you it was a conversation. If you ask Lisa, she'll tell you it was an argument. I believe they're both correct. And Greg had said to Lisa, what is your plan when a gunman walks into your schools and starts opening fire? And in December of 2000, that was a very simple answer. Now, I should have prefaced this with Greg and Lisa are from Texas, right? Very loving people. And so Lisa, in that very charming Southern voice says, well, Greg, that's just a dumb question. Because I'm going to go to the office, I'm going to get on a PA system, I'm going to call a code red, we're going to lock down, we're going to wait for you. And that's where, ladies and gentlemen, I believe the conversation changed from a conversation to an argument. You see, because Greg had understood from a tactical mindset that idea did not work in Columbine. That idea did not work in Jonesboro, Arkansas. That idea did not work in Thurston High School. And so the conversation started to talk about the dangers of Lisa's job, right? Because we all understand in police work, it's dangerous. That's why they give you a bulletproof vest, right? But how many educators got into education with the mindset or understanding that there's a possibility they never come out of that building alive? And so the conversation had to start to say, Lisa, your job may not be all that safe because we've had school shootings in 98, 99, and 66. And so now Greg started to using his tactical mind, right? Because as cops and on a SWAT team, we got all kinds of nice fancy toys, right? And things that we can do to put ourselves at a better tactical advantage when we're trying to take custody and control of an individual. And so Greg, with that understanding, said, how can I make this and put this into terms of civilians who don't have all the toys and gadgets that we have in law enforcement? And the first thing he did was, well, somebody else has to do this. So what do? We Google it. Well, and back then maybe we still went to a library and got an encyclopedia, but and what he found was there was nothing out there. There was no proactive response. Everybody, every organization was, hey, get in that corner, get under those chairs, and hope and wish and pray for the best. And if Greg was standing here today, he'd tell you he never thought 17 years ago that Alice Training Institute would be it was today, because his idea of what he did for Lisa, and he'll tell you, was flat out being selfish. He wanted to make sure his wife made it home after school every single day. And from there, he pushed this civilian response into her school, and then it started to catch. And they would travel in that Chevy Suburban with a trailer attached, and they would start going around and talking to anybody that would listen. And today it has blossomed into this life-changing program. We've had Alice-trained facilities that have come under attack as recently as last week. And so when I say to you that I could not be happier or more pleased in this position, affecting lives in a different manner than I did as a police officer, it is a true statement. And I thoroughly enjoy going around, standing in front of people like you who allow me just a snippet of your time to share with you some information that either you may have thought about, you may not have thought about. You may have thought about it in very small windows to really get you to understand, what is their plan? What are we going to do? How are we going to get there? Alice is all about proactive response options. If someone were to walk in this room right here, right now, what are you going to do? What are you prepared to do if violence were to show up right here, right now? Do we clam up and allow that individual to dominate this space? Or do we do something about it? The numbers are very clear. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to have a mass casualty event, what do you have to have? Lots of people. However, what do we know? 98% of the time, ladies and gentlemen, we're dealing with one individual. So if one individual walks in that door and commits violence, or one individual who is already among us stands up and starts to commit violence, should that one individual be able to shoot and kill a third, a quarter, or half of the people in this room? No. You want to know why we see the numbers we see, ladies and gentlemen? It's because the people that are already in the establishment never take back control. Could that one individual shoot 2 or 3 of us? Yeah. But if there's 300 of us in this room, he should not be able to shoot, wound, and kill a third, a quarter, a half of this room. Shouldn't be able to accomplish that. But if we allow him the opportunity and the time to do it, absolutely he's going to be able to accomplish it. Absolutely. Alice is all across the nation and in every market sector. And these numbers grow every single day. I got trainers all across the country this week training people at the instructor level or at the end user level. These numbers grow every single day. But here's what I know. When we talk about millions educated, I know this. We got millions more to go. We got millions more to go. We cannot stop and hang our hat and say, hey, we've trained millions of people. You know why? Because these events are still happening, and there's still millions of people out there who don't have a plan, who aren't prepared, who haven't thought about it. I understand this is a tough topic to talk about. And sometimes you got to combat the mindset. People will say, well, you know, these types of things don't happen here. I beg to differ. If I were to ask you 15, 18, 20 years ago, name for me the top 3 safest locations in your mind, what would you tell me? Church, school, and home. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've checked all 3 of those boxes. We've checked all 3 of them. Schools, churches, and in your own home. Hospitals, military bases. We've checked all the boxes. So if you're safe, how safe is your safe location? I submit to you, your safe location is only safe until it's no longer safe. Your safe location, we're in a safe location right now until violence presents itself. And then our location is no longer safe. But these things are happening everywhere. And this training, this bit of information you're going to get here over the next hour and a half or so, has to be the conversation starter to go back and figure out, okay, what are we going to do? And I'll be the first to tell you, you can go back and you can say, hey, I want to get this Alice training, let's get it running. It may never, the event you are involved in may never be your church. It may never be your office. But where are people who are like me who like to eat? You go to restaurants. How many people like to shop? You go to malls, stores. You buy things. You go to movies. Your wife or your husband makes you go to movies that you don't want to go to. That's never happened to me. Sorry, Lord. Man, you just had me lying in church. But the event that you may be involved in may never be at the place that you've trained it the most. But what you do need is to have trained it so that the moment in which you are faced with the sights and the sounds of violence, your plan now goes into play. And what does that look like? This clicker is not cooperating. So ALICE is an acronym. Somebody asked me during the break, what is ALICE? ALICE is an acronym. It stands for response options, and we'll get into all of those response options. It is a proactive response, ladies and gentlemen. This is about you taking charge and taking back control and starting to keep people alive to mitigate that event. And how do we do that? ALICE does not mean you have to, based on the response you want, if you like the evacuation, nobody says that you got to lock down for the L first because that spells the word. So it's nonlinear. You can pick the best response option that best fits your needs right where you are. And we're going to go through that acronym. You know, with that traditional lockdown, it makes two very big assumptions. And I alluded to one of those big assumptions. The first big assumption in traditional lockdown only response, it assumes that the space you are in is safe. The second big assumption is it assumes that the help is going to get to you fast enough. But when those two things are not the case, your lockdown means nothing, has zero effect. If the gunman stands up in this room who is already among us, if I close and lock that door, how's that helping us? It doesn't help us. Our space is not safe. We need to make our space safe. If I close and lock that door, lock the guy in here, and we go hide under a corner and we wait for police to get here, how's that helping us? So that is why we've got to have multiple response options. We cannot have a one-size-fits-all because we don't know when, where, or how this thing is going to start. But if I stick to a plan that doesn't address that, well, that plan might be only good for a portion of that or none of it.